Hey guys, how you doing? Today I want to talk to you guys about something that is a potential economic nightmare that could be coming in, and that is something that's called stagflation. And before I do that, I guess I will talk about this sculpture. It's really cool. I always love these marble kinetic sculptures, they're called. A client of mine actually made this for me. A few years ago, he quit his job with the government and was trying to figure out what he was going to do with his life. And he's decided that this is his passion, and he's working and he's created this awesome small business. He's got videos on YouTube called Objects in Motion is the channel. I'll link it in the bottom. You can visit his website. He builds all sorts of really cool, way more intricate sculptures than this, but I wanted a little one for the desk, and I think it's absolutely awesome. So if you like that kind of stuff, check it out, because he's just getting better and better, and he's only getting started. So anyways, as I said earlier, let's talk about a potential economic nightmare that is stagflation. And what is stagflation, and why is that a problem? Anybody that was alive and had money and a job in the 70s will remember stagflation and what it is. And I tried to ask my wife, who's a social studies teacher in high school, if she could teach people basic economic principles. But just like everybody else and myself in high school, I did not care what my social studies teacher had to say. It was my least favorite subject, and now economics is by far my favorite thing to sort of pay attention to. So stagflation is a very simple concept where inflation is rising and the economy is not doing well. It's going into a recessionary state while inflation is rising. And why is that a problem? I mean, it seems very simple, and you can understand why this could be seen as something that is potentially happening as we speak, because obviously we all know that inflation is going up, and we're also seeing this dip in stock market activity, which could potentially lead to a recession or worse. So it sort of makes sense that this is happening at the same time. And the reason why this is a problem is because there are no outs. So generally speaking, when, let's say, inflation is running high, their sort of out is to say, okay, well, we are going to increase interest rates in order to cool off inflation. We're sort of trying to cool off economic activity in order to drive down inflation. However, at the same time, what is the thing that they do when the economy is cooling off? They say, well, we are going to put money back into the economy and stimulate the economy by putting money back in. We're going to spend, generally speaking, in normal circumstances, they would actually find ways to generate more tax income and then stimulate the economy that way. But during COVID, they said, let's not really worry about generating more tax income. Let's just print money and see what happens. And what happened was it overstimulated the economy, making people believe that we are in sort of this somewhat perfect situation where nothing can ever go wrong and things can't fail, until realizing later maybe that was a mistake, because maybe we printed too much money. It overstimulated the economy and of course caused inflation because there was more money. And I did a video with my son where he was climbing on my shoulders. We played Monopoly. I said, this is how inflation happens. You imagine you're playing a game of Monopoly, you have a set amount of money, you're bidding on different properties, and then I just come in and I say, I'm going to throw an extra $10,000 in the pot and give every one of the players an extra $2,000. Of course, they're going to start paying more for properties because they have more money, seemingly, in comparison to before. But that doesn't help people that are at the bottom who have less, and that's just going to end up flowing to the top. And so that's the potential problem. Stagflation is potentially incoming. It's one of those buzzwords that has been thrown around a lot over time from economists saying, you know, this is a potential situation where we may see it again. I just wanted to give a very basic sort of idea of what it is and why it's bad, and that it's really hard to come out from stagflation because there's no real outs. There's not an actual fix, and that is the problem. It's like, well, should we print more money to stimulate the economy? Well, is that going to make inflation worse? Are we going to try and slow down the economy when it's already slowing to try and stop inflation in its tracks? Well, that's going to drive us into a further recession. So it's sort of this double-edged sword of hell. And if I was a betting man, I would suggest that it is already on its way. It is already pretty much happening. However, the sort of, you know, the monetary supply that came into every single country because they printed money to help us survive during COVID is going to run its course, and then what do we do? And something that I think that we should start talking about is real, actual solutions to this problem. And I know that, you know, my channel is predominantly Canadian, but this is not a Canadian problem. This is a problem in all of the developed countries in the world. Every single developed country in the world did the exact same thing. However, they chose different sort of strategies how to implement and put money into the economy. But if you look everywhere, markets are dropping everywhere. They did see this big boom once the money supply came in, and now that has come to an end, and they're seeing record high inflation. They're seeing their stock markets, their values drop across the board. Real estate has driven up, and now they're going to have to increase interest rates. So this isn't just a Canadian problem, even though I know that, you know, close to home, that's the problem. But worldwide, I truly believe we need to start talking about solutions that work for more of us, rather than allowing our governments to make these choices for us and say, okay, well, now we're in this, you know, in economic hell, and we have to talk about like strategies and allow them to choose our way out, which generally isn't very advantageous for the general man or woman. It's more advantageous for that top tier of people that make decisions for us, even though they're supposed to be speaking on our behalf. So I don't think anybody got it right. I don't know how you could have gotten it right, but I hope, you know, we can talk about how to potentially be prepared for next time, and, you know, keep planning and make sure that you're not putting yourself into too much risk. If you have the opportunity to build up sort of a war chest, another thing that can protect you if there's a potential economic downturn is, you know, a lot of homeowners will have extra equity in their home. I'm not saying to take this and go and buy a car, but this, while you're employed, have stable income, while the economy is still okay, while interest rates are still okay, you could go and open up a HELOC, which it should be at a low interest rate, to allow you to access some potential debt for an emergency case scenario if things get really bad. So I know time is sort of running thin onto you know, ways to help yourself if you're not in a good position, but that is one option I would consider if you have that available to you. And otherwise, I think that we should start a more open dialogue about ways that we can be better for the future, because to me it just doesn't seem like things are working out that well for the majority of people out there, and a select few people are really doing super well because we're all sort of holding them up. So that's just my humble opinion, but thanks again for watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe, and we'll chat soon.